Welcome to Our Energy Matters with Anthony Manna and Dena Marie. Aloha.
Aloha to you too. And it's a Friday. So did you have your show this morning?
I didn't. I had a fill-in host.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so that's lift your spirits. I love the fact that you name your radio show Lift Your Spirits, because you're all about that.
Well, I have to practice what I preach.
Yeah, and you brought that up a couple of times, well, more than a couple of times, about it takes practice, and that's also what the Buddhists say about, coming to recognize, yourself, or your place in the universe. Is it takes practice, and that either through meditation or connecting with good people, and on it goes. Well, anyway, here we are. We just jumped right into it, episode 94. So folks, if you're new to us, we've been meeting for 94 episodes of Our Energy Matters, which is also the title of Dena Marie's breathtaking book. So what I say, so what we do is we've been talking to each other about our journey in this life and beyond, and sometimes even talking about what we believe to be our past lives, and
in a monastery.
Yes, and I came upon this recently. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was out in the garden, and it just dawned on me that I think Dena Marie and I were in the same monastery in a former life, and then
I said I remember a life where I remember the garden and the music.
Yes,
and that's your favorite thing.
Yes, and I actually lived that, didn't I? Because I was in a monastery, and we did Gregorian chant, and we did Gregorian chant out in the gardens in a procession where we didn't talk, we sang, and it was absolutely glorious. I say to everyone today, Dita de Paces, which is wishing a day of peace to our Albanian listeners and viewers. Today's title is Healing Matters. Enter a domain of healing workshops, classes, and find spark-tested manifestations of hopefulness and redemptive enlightenment. I took that right out of your book. In our episodes of Our Energy Matters, we explore the practices and poetics of physical, mental, and spiritual self-care revealed through Dena Marie's intuitive soul search discoveries and regenerative prescriptions. That word regenerative, it comes up over and over again in my mind when I'm reading your book. Regenerative prescriptions for living a blessed life. What does that mean? A life anointed by well-being, self-love, and healthful connections with others, and enlightened and balanced body, mind, spirit, energy. God, that to me, that sounds like an introduction to a book. Folks, have you ever been jolted awake by a sudden flash of heartfelt truth-telling, an intuitive awareness you happen upon clearly by accident that reminds you to stop abruptly in your earthly journey and give yourself over to an empowerment that is bound to invite you to live fully here and now? Well, enter the wisdom of Rick Hansen, who reminds me so much of Dena Marie. He's a mindfulness teacher and mentor. He's a soul searcher and a mind explorer. Just the other day, in the internet, he offered me a gift of cleansed self-reflection in his sentiments about being true to yourself, your true nature, when he wrote in his daily internet dispatch, quote, "But if you suppress, disown, push away, recoil, or deny major parts of yourself, then you feel cut off, alienated from yourself, lacking vital information about what is really going on inside, no longer at home in your own skin or your own mind." And that's the end. And you're shaking your head, yes, because this is your book. I mean, the people that came to you needed healing because they were so blocked. Me too. When you first did the crystal reading of the crystals
And
that
that's what I start my book like that. Remind. I love it. Remind, right? Get right back here. And it's the mastership of your mind. And so when we have people like readings like that, a book, the cards you can pull, or a synchronicity, all those things remind us to get back here and focus on what's happening. But we have to be reminded, even me, without you bringing my book back into my life the way you have, I would have forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why it's such a treasure, because it keeps reminding me, oh, you know, it's so easy for me to get frazzled and frizzled. you know, and so I and I'm lucky to have a partner who calls me on it, and reminds me it's okay. It's okay. Oh, I don't, I want to write faster. And he goes, it's okay. You just carry on, And I say, ah, yes, indeed. Turn off the clamor and move into your inner landscape to look honestly at the condition of your sometimes numbed triad of heart, mind, and soul. Not to ride the crest of self negation or despondency, but to ignite the flame of self acceptance, self compassion. And I didn't spell the word, so I spelled elf compassion. And yes, self love. There, I said it. I said self love to my doubter inner beasties who say no, no, no to self love, as though I were endorsing a state of hubris, vanity, conceitedness. Sinful, sinful, sinful. No, 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 I shout out. Self love is a sacred state of being. And we have talked about that so much. And I've learned, I mean, we even did one of your shows, your radio shows about self love, and it's been
Well,
illuminating.
and even self-love, we talk about this a lot. We torture ourselves with our thoughts, our own minds. And that's not self-love. If I keep thinking about the past or bringing up things I felt ashamed the other day. And my voice is like, stop it. For something a long, long time ago. It's like, stop it. And then I do. But it's mastership of your mind.
Yeah, it really is coming into control in a sense, of watching yourself flip out. I mean, that's what I say about myself, it's all good. You know what I mean? Really, because like what the Buddhists say, and what I keep learning from them is the fact that it's all the path. All of it is the path, and we have to learn, oh, I don't know, rather than freaking out, just face it and say, okay, there it is. Now I've been given this. Now what do I do? Dena
Oh,
Marie, Dena Marie,
oh,
yeah, right. Dena Marie is a faith healer, and she invites all of us to roam in her truly spellbinding book, Our Energy Matters, The Art of Crystal Reading. I see it as a sacrosanct book, suffused with startling energies, soul stories, spirit memories offered as sacraments to her seekers, her clients, enlivened and awakened by prayerful and playful mind alert plans of action, illustrating, and this is their third title, illustrating how to manifest your heartfelt intentions. Amen. Praise the pathway. Clap your hands. So I say, folks, get it, folks? Dena Marie is a spirit lifter. No wonder she calls her radio show Lift Your Spirits. Enter her enlightened book and you wander into a domain of healing, 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 workshops, classes, etc. Her celestially endowed crystals morphed, sparkle clear by her readings of your selected colors, her sanctified illuminations of self-acceptance and self-wonder, and her gloried awareness of truth-telling. Now, Folks, do you want to move closer to the physical, mental, and spiritual self-care revealed through Dena Marie's intuitive soul search discoveries for living a blessed life? Of course you do. Well then, welcome to the Celestial Arts Quiz Show, where we'll turn to Dena Marie's blessed guidance, anointed healing prescriptions, and heartfelt solace, established and hosted by me, Anthony L. Manna, aka Professor Grandpa Tonio, the book guy and the writing guy. The Celestial Arts Quiz Show features one daring contestant by the name of Dena Marie. Calling Dena Marie, Celestial Alchemist, come forth and illuminate our listeners and viewers curious about your passionate belief in drinking from the wellspring of the energy of open-heartedness touched by joyful mind to ride the rising tide of enlightened soul search. Now, I repeat that each week, and I love it, because I just love the way it flows, because I think it just flows right into the sacredness of your ideas for how to heal people. So here we go. In your book, you situate your readers and your clients and me in a sacred realm of wonder. When you wrote, I go back to this all the time because it's a prayer. You wrote, "We are the co-creators of our own reality. We are spiritual beings living in the physical world." So why, Dena Marie, do you want your seekers to know this?
Because it's the stuff you can't see that matters. It's
Wow.
the energy that you can't see. It's like you think of oxygen or gravity or any of that stuff. We always think that we're our bodies, and we know that when we pass this life, we don't take our bodies. We all know that. But it's one of those things where I love doing Reiki, because after a Reiki session, people feel other people's energy. It's not something you can see, it's a sense. And so teaching people about your higher chakras, which is the intangibles, that's how you get the tangibles. So me manifesting that wallet today, it was so weird, but that was a physical way of showing me what was going on in my mind. So the physical world is just a product of the stuff you can't see.
That's beautiful. And so tell us a little bit about Reiki, because there are some people who are not going to know, what it is. I mean, you are a Reiki healer.
So, the first thing, like if you're a parent and you love your child, they get hurt and you want to touch them right away. Like you just want to hold them. Animals, same thing. But there's something about getting into someone else's energy field. And if you are tuned up and you are sensitive, you'll be able to you'll see that beautiful person, looks like their whole life is like perfect. And you'll get into their field and you'll sense something. I'll say, "Are you angry?" And she's like, "Yes, my husband," blah, 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 and just goes off. And I was like, only because I went over her power chakra and it was on fire. Really, I can say it was on fire, but she was acting like her life was perfect, which is fine. I've also had people where I have no sense over their hearts, and their hearts are closed, which is really weird, because then I have to try to get their heart to open. And so I'll hold their hands, and then they start to cry because someone had hurt them. So they shut their heart down and they don't feel. But as soon as I hold their hands, it just restarts their heart. But and that power chakra, the chakras above your throat right here, I can always sense when somebody's a little bit crazy. And not because I used to be that way. Like everything was thinking. I was never really grounded. So there'll be like energy just pouring off the top of their head. And when you're not grounded, you're losing energy. So what you want this. You want that nummy energy. So you have to have all your chakras flowing, like in the back of my book, to have your it's health. Dis-ease comes from a chakra being blocked for a long period of time.
That's so good that you said the back of your book. I should show that, because this is the back of the book, and it's the chakra cheat sheet. And you place the crystals on corresponding colors, and you start to learn, where you're healthy. Let's say, for example, back to your heart. You say green and pink, healthy is compassionate, forgiving, balanced, and understanding. And then you list the crystals: malachite and rose quartz. And then on the other side is the revelation of the blockages, which I won't get into right now because that's a whole other session, isn't it, to talk about the blockages. And then, of course, under the blockage, you list the prescription. Yes, this is like your handy guide. Yeah,
It is.
yeah, maybe what you need to do is to make this into a little card that people can put in their wallet. So when they're on the subway and they're grouchy, they can pick it up and start looking at it.
I've laminated it, just the back, and people just get the crystals and the back of the book. And that was so much fun. I would do the class with the laminated one and the crystal set, and then people could use it. Like I have people saying they're counselors and they use it in their office.
Oh, that's so good.
I know, it's so cool.
Yeah, because we talked a little bit about before about oh, I know it wasn't really concrete manifestations. It was how did we say that? It was so oh yeah, there he is. The heartfelt intention into a physical form. And I think that's why I like the crystals so much. After I began to start understanding what they do and what they're meant to do according to your prescriptions, that it starts illuminating, who you are, where you're at, and what you can do to help yourself.
Well, and it's setting, well, you said remind, get yourself back into the spiritual self, that mind, stay in the present moment, and then count your blessings and set your intentions. That's all of these, right? And then you get the intuitive hunch, or even use your inner voice in a nice way. Like my friend was mad because the little girl was chatting during the music, but she had all this energy, and my inner voice said, go dance with the little girl. There's a whole different thing. Like this is not a place I want to be, where I'm being mad at a child at a festive music festival. It was solstice. Yeah, we need to dance, right? So her and I dance. No one dances, but just me and that little girl.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you also wrote beautifully about the summer solstice in your Facebook page. I was reading that and really enjoying the positive energy there, and the fact that you were saying now is the time for renewal, and it was really beautifully put. Let's go. I say let's turn to one of your confident intuitive beliefs, synchronicities. You wrote, spontaneity is the seed of synchronicity. So I say to you, in your practice, why do you offer the value of synchronicity as an essential truth?
So if we're setting our intentions, we're writing down the things we'd like to manifest in our life, and we go about our business, we'll get the synchronicity. So like today when I was walking in the woods, I was kind of negative, and I changed my tune and I reminded myself to be positive. And then I always say, show me the money, cash in my hand, or something like that. And then I look down and there's a wallet. I mean, I'm in the woods where there's nobody around. And what do I see but a wallet? And I can see green sticking out of it. It was so bizarre. But I got it. Of course, I'm like, I should have said that I get to keep.
Oh, yeah, right.
But even last time I found a wallet, what happened? She wrote me $100 check because she said she wanted to give a reward because of all of her cards that were in it. And I took it because that's what I asked for. And that's what I'm learning to receive. But yeah, synchronicities are a wink from the universe. And remember, I was being negative. I was being sad about something I have no control over. And as soon as I changed my tune, the universe winked at me. And then they just came and picked the wallet up. And my friend knew them, and I got a picture of them. Anyways, they're really, really happy.
That's wonderful. And I think I think sometimes I don't recognize them as you do, but that whole idea of the revelation coming to me was a kind of synchronicity of, I knew for sure that in my past life, or something like that, in my past being, whatever, I was in a monastery with you, and you were like me, becoming a priest.
And we both have that same love. You said you even realized it in your garden. That's a synchronicity, because I brought up that I love the garden, but you didn't say the garden before. You just said it now. That's the universe. And people say, you know what it is, Dena? You notice things. That's these higher chakras. So when these are tuned up, they'll say, I didn't see any of that. But then I put it all together and I said, that's the universe showing you, like the pin the tail on the donkey where you're spinning around with your head, you're blindfolded. Yeah. But if you have synchronicity, you need to keep moving in that direction. When you don't get synchronicity, then you need to stop and ask and set your intentions. And spontaneous, but when you're spontaneous, you have to give yourself time to just go with the flow. Because if we're scheduled all day long, you don't really get that. So my ex-husband used to call it, it's a Dena day, where all we do is whatever Dena says, spontaneity, or her, whatever her inner voice tells us to do. And I got us free things. It was amazing. And he would always give us one day, probably a month. And that's when we liked each other on that day. And he would get out of the car when it was time to park. He would actually stand on the corner and let me park, because I would get one just like that.
So funny. Yeah,
Angel parking.
Yeah, Angel. That's great. I see our imaginary producer is telling us it's time to end this episode of a Celestial Arts Quiz Show. Will you return to the quiz show soon to talk about yourself as an energetic counselor? That's what you call yourself in your book. And I thought, now how the heck did you ever come to that? Well, we're going to talk about it the next time. I promise you, folks, come back. Thank you, Lady Grace of Angelic Counseling, for teaching and sharing and illuminating. So vital. What a blessing. Ending the quiz show today, I share with you a bit of wisdom from Zen Buddhist priest and poet Norman Fisher. Where is his book? I read it practically every day. It's all about compassion, nurturing compassion. He says, and it reminds me of your wisdom. He says, why would you want to artificially, conceptually remove yourself from life's great ocean and lock yourself up in the tiny prison of self? Stop being stuck on yourself. Let go of that and open up. Think of others. A question to ask yourself on a regular basis. Am I less stuck on myself and more available to others than I used to be? And, don't you see yourself there? Because, I was thinking of that, some of those people who were so afraid of their relationships in your book, and you help them to come to understand it's all right.
Well, it's basically reopening your heart is pretty painful. And, most of the time you're going to cry and it's not going to feel good at first. But the other thing is just basically would be like the pandemic, your whole life, isolation, right? Isolation, pushing people away. Yeah, it's in relationships, as you know, it's homework. It's a lot of work to be with people and relate. But yeah, and what happens is, for me, compassion is something I saw the Dalai Lama, and it was his compassion tour. And you get to see some people are so compassionate, right? And they give so much. And then there's those closed heart people that will come and take advantage of them. So you got to watch that puzzle piece relationship where one person is doing all the loving.
Oh yeah, that's so true. And just coming to realize those realities, I think it wakes you up.
Well, and it's balance. Again, we have to balance our chakras. So when my ex-husband did Reiki with us and attended all of our groups and hung out with the kids, his heart opened. He didn't like it at first. And he said, I don't think I've ever experienced joy in my whole life, but with you. And so, but then he got busy to get his PhD and he didn't work with us anymore. And he isolated himself and he became close-hearted again.
Mad.
So
I'm a madman.
It's exercising him,
Well,
right?
Yeah, I know the PhD business. That was my profession, and boy, I'll tell you, it can slaughter. So folks, if you want to move closer to Dena Marie's wisdom, God, the producer is waving at us right now. Cut it. And listen to her weekly radio show, Lift Your Spirits, on 11:50 a.m. KKNW on Friday mornings at 8:00 Pacific time. Her website is Dena Marie, Dena at denamarie.com. She's also very active on Facebook with some daily insights into chakra energy, into blockage, into prescription, into awareness, like with the summer solstice. Startling photographs of the island she inhabits on the West Coast. Prayerful advice about self-care. My website for an interview with Dena Marie is mannabooks.com. Go to my website's media section for my Podbean podcast. You'll find her interview along with other very influential people who are illustrators and writers. And my website is about how you can possibly work with very young children, tweens, teens, new adults, with reading and writing to make them come alive, make them become aware. Oh.
Aw.
So, folks, thank you very much. Dena Marie, see you next week.
You always lift my spirits. And after this, I know more magic's going to happen. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. You too. Well, I feel the same way. So off we go. And aloha.
Aloha.